Thanksgiving, North America. It's a chilly Thursday here in Virginia, and this is the new show. This year, I have a wrap-up of all the movies I saw in the theater this year, of which there were two. I saw Alita, Battle Angel, based on the anime Battle Angel, or the manga Battle Angel Alita. I don't think perhaps I was the person this movie was made for. My problem with a film that uses so much computer-generated imagery is that it all kind of turns to visual mayonnaise at a certain point, or more like a visual brown mustard. You know, no matter how colorful everything is, there's always this obnoxious sepia tone to everything. I don't know, I guess I found it rushed and frantic, trying to have every single sequence be really busy and engaging. I mean, do teenagers like stuff like that? I don't know. Comparing it to the anime, or let's just say the first episode of the anime, is that particular anime was made for so little money that they really had to push the most effective imagery in every single frame, because, you know, they only had, 24 minutes. So the director had to come up with these simple visual motifs for this complex story that had a lot of side stories and side angles to it, and just give you like a cross section of it. And as a 24-minute slice of animation, it works flawlessly. This felt like a 24-minute anime spread out to whatever it was, 2 hours, and I think it was a little over 2 hours. I actually walked out right before the ending because I kind of got where it was going. Yeah, forget it. Just too busy, too noisy, too weird, too much CG, too much trying to show off how cool Gally's body was all the time. I have nothing else to say about that film, really. I just kind of felt like I had been beaten. So, on to Joker by Todd Phillips, who did the Hangover movie, which I've never seen. And Joker, I thought, was a very interesting film. You know, it was nice to see a completely character-driven film vehicle. It almost seemed like 3/4 of this film are close-ups of Joaquin Phoenix reacting to things. You don't see that too much these days. And what it reminded me of in a way was how Superman the movie felt when you were watching it. But, not Metropolis, Gotham City, like darker, sketchier, bigger, more sprawling. One thing I really liked about Joker is that it had a couple of specific, strong visuals that it just used a few times during the film. Like, they did not overdo it with anything, which impressed me. But I think the film had a major problem, and it's sort of built in by design. And I think this is what Martin Scorsese was referring to when he was talking about how, when he was being considered to direct it, or was thinking about directing it, he said something to the effect of, I can't take that trip with the character where they go from being a human being to being a superhero, because that's when it becomes a completely different kind of film. And I think he was right. I think the ending of Joker does not work. I guess it was about halfway through this movie that I noticed that they were laying on the hits. This wasn't Guardians of the Galaxy. That, Joker had a couple of songs in it, or, very recognizable pop songs. But they seem to be more loaded into the latter half of the movie, in some scenes that become vaguely music video-ish, like the entire end of the film. So basically you have this structure where 90% of the film is this sort of stark, minimalist, almost like German silent movie, gothic kind of film. The ending didn't feel like it had built up to the point it was supposed to be at. It seemed like the film didn't want to connect the dots of intention within the story. They didn't want to really make Arthur be directly responsible for the protesters wearing the Joker masks. The film didn't want to come out and say it, it was just implying it. And I can get on a meta level where that's kind of hip, where it's not about him, it's about this whole natural phenomenon, he's just sort of tapping into it. That's fine. But what I found insulting about the movie is that if you're gonna have an actor like Joaquin Phoenix and give him much face time in a film, write some good Joker dialogue for him. At least have him make the speech, which should have been at the end of this film. I mean, the climax with Robert De Niro is spoilers. He doesn't really say much of anything when he's on this talk show. He does this thing where he acts smug, like he's actually above it all. The other problem is that the film wants to build up, wants to escalate to this crazy pandemonium in the city at the ending, right? And so you have several scenes where Arthur becomes progressively more violent as the story is going forward, or just violent and scary. And then the execution on the talk show it's dull by comparison to what's come before it. It just feels like all the energy gets sucked out of the movie right there. And they just turned on the music and, did, the riot scenes. For God's sake, give Joaquin Phoenix a speech. The implication of the story is that the punchline to the Joker's, joke, his unspoken joke on the talk show, the punchline to it is that everything dies and that death is funny. That would be a message consistent with representations of that character. Yeah, I get it. It's an origin story. He hasn't really got there. Yeah, whatever. I would have had a better piece of writing for Joaquin Phoenix. That's all I'm saying. I thought that ending was just. It still kind of works, but it felt a little incoherent. The other odd reference I picked up was remembering Bernard Goetz shootings that happened in New York in the 1980s. And the shooting scene in Joker in the subway felt very similar. As for the movie making statements about mental illness or the movie making statements about class or anything like that or revolution, I'm like, nah. Because if that were true, there would have been a speech written for Joaquin Phoenix, this killer speech at the end of the film, which wasn't there, and I'm not going to say it again. I will mention as a note, because it's the holidays, I had to see both of these movies down in Harrisonburg because my local movie theater here in Luray, the owner, Jerry, had passed away, I think in March of this past year. It was March or April. And I was really crushed because the Page Theater in Luray is probably one of the most iconic little theater houses in this part of Virginia. Its facade is painted bubblegum pink. As the story goes, the bubblegum pink color was originally a primer, and he was going to apply another layer of paint, another color. And apparently Jerry got so much static from the locals about the color that he decided, in Virginia fashion, he decided to keep it forever. Just a really cute movie theater. I think they ran porno movies in the 70s because several of the theaters don't have maybe more than 30 seats, if that. Some of them are small, but that's kind of nice. Like you could go there on a weeknight. You could watch a film by yourself sometimes. Anyway, the reason I wanted to mention it for the holidays is that a couple in town decided to buy the theater, which had been languishing for many months. And that's definitely something I'm thankful for. So, enjoy your holiday, don't eat too much, and don't kill yourself driving home. Okay, see you next time.